And welcome to Unpacking Culture. I am Alex Haynes,
And I
and
am Tiff Lanelle.
you are. Tiff, how
I
the hell
am.
are you?
Listen, I'm booked.
You're
No,
booked,
I'm good.
as am I.
How are you?
It's good to be
I
booked,
know you are.
it's good to be
It
paid,
is.
and I'm still plotting to take over the world.
Come on, Pinky in the brain.
Okay, well, I am
A little bit of
definitely
throwback.
the brain. I'm definitely the brain. Um,
Boop, boop, boop.
just saying. So, it's been a while since we've done this. We know that we're going to face some technical difficulties with that. You will deal. We will deal. If you miss any part of it, of course, this will be available via podcast tomorrow, and of course, everywhere on Boss FM platforms. This the basis of the show. We'll cover this really quickly, and then we can get moving into why the reason that we're here. Obviously, we do a pretty good job at unpacking culture and understanding things that are happening in our culture, understanding what the hell is going on, and really, if we don't get it, finding experts that do and bringing them into the circle so that we can all understand it and make sense of things that are happening. This all started for us specifically with this show, and the content that we came up with and the concept here because of Robert Kelly. Um, he doesn't deserve the art, in my opinion. So,
Robert.
yeah, Robert. In the words of Gail King, Robert.
Robert.
Robert. All right. So, weekly, we'll be coming to you with different things that are going on in the culture, unpacking it, and seeing if we can make sense of it. Sometimes things make perfect sense. Sometimes they don't make sense at all. I think that I usually like to do this tip as well with a nice libation, two or three. Tonight I'm sober, so um,
Likewise.
it is what it
It is
is.
what it is.
Now, tonight my libation of choice is I'm not gonna show you. I can't show you the full brand name because they're not paying me. But if you know
Right.
this style of water, then you know exactly what I'm drinking. All right, so that's what it is. Let's just break it down and kind of get into what this is gonna be. I think that a I'm gonna say I definitely admire the person that is the topic of our conversation tonight. I think that anybody, and you've known me for, actually, you've now known me for more than half of my life. Um, Even you actually knew, oh my God.
No,
Short
don't do
story.
that.
No, I got to do this short story. So prior to me knowing that I was actually going to be a journalist, you kind of watched this every day, like when I was still an adolescent.
Yeah.
Um, I,
Accurate.
I digress. So I've studied people in media for a long time. Obviously, I've been doing media for a long time, and Wendy Williams, she's the topic tonight. She literally has been in this industry for 33 years. Like 33, I can't right now. I can't even fathom that because I'm not 33. So she's been in this industry for 33 years. She did radio for over 20 years. I haven't even hit that milestone. And so she is really a force to be reckoned with. I think that we've seen so many things from her. She's contributed to our culture in a huge way. And so before we talk about like what's happening, and I think while we're saying the topic tonight is Wendy, I think I really kind of want to spin this into like relationships in our culture because I
Hmm.
think that I think we need to talk about that because by and large, no relationship is perfect. But I'm on the fence all the time on like are we really supposed to be doing relationships the way that we're doing it? So when we talk about Wendy and we start to unpack exactly what she's been through, a lot. I want to lay this down right now. I want to cut any of the BS right now. People are like, she gets, Karma is a bitch. Wendy is getting everything that she deserves. Before we do that and vilify her, let me say this, Tiffany. You can tell me your thoughts here. Here's the truth, the
Mm-hmm.
plain truth. Everybody wants to know the mess all the time.
Yes. Yes.
However, when it gets really messy, then everybody wants to shoot the damn messenger.
Yes.
Not okay. I'm not here
No.
for it. I'm not here for it. Um, Before we dive into what's going on with her and all of that, and we start talking like relationship, let, give me your pleasantries about Wendy, if you have any.
I mean, I first of all, we were talking when I watched the show the other day. I'm almost always behind on my Wendy shows, but from before she took her hiatus to now, she seems overjoyed now. She's happy now. I think it's a little bit funny that she, in every episode, throws a little bit of shade at her soon to be husband. Like
Oh, I
today,
actually think it's glorious. I think it's
it's
wonderful. I think
hysterical. Even
she is
today, she was
doing it
talking to
the right
that
way.
cook, and the cook was like, "Yes, my husband and I work together, and he works from home, and he's helping me." She was like, "Y'all work together? How's
Huh.
that going?" I said, "Dang, that's definitely some shade." But I'm happy for her, and I don't normally say that about somebody getting a divorce, but she seems healthier mentally, emotionally, physically than she's been in a really long time. So I'm happy for her.
Okay.
Maybe not a
I
common.
I couldn't ask you for any more. I think I'm happy for who she is and what she offers and what she's brought to the culture. And I think for
Right.
those of you that are hearing this for the first time, you're obviously not watching because we're not really putting it out there for a lot of people to watch tonight. But you're listening to this back, on a podcast or audio. And if you have been under a rock, let's just go back to where I think you can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna go back to where things have seemed off. If you've ever watched Wendy Williams, and and a lot of people don't get it, especially I think the younger people have always known her to be the TV lady. Let me tell you a
Mm.
little bit about now. I have had a petty radio career. I have had a very
Yes.
petty radio career.
Yes, you have.
I am not 25% of the petty of Wendy Williams. Okay? In
That
her
is
radio
correct.
days, there's no one like that is because she's literally what we would call a shock jock in the industry.
Hmm.
And so for years, the first 3 years of her TV show, she had problems. It was a struggle for her to get guests because of how rude she had been to people on the radio. People
On the
just were
radio.
like, absolutely not. Like, I hope your show fails. Like,
Right.
literally, because there was not any rock that she left unturned at that point. Um, but let's go back to October. And this past Halloween, this is not. I can't believe I'm laughing at this because it wasn't funny. It was a very serious incident that happened. Wendy was live on TV. She was dressed as the Statue of Liberty, which she's really almost as tall as the Statue of Liberty anyway. And she literally tried to go to a segment and slurred her words and passed out hot on live TV. People didn't know if it was a publicity stunt. They didn't know. They did not know what was happening, and it was like, oh, she came back. Like her doctor said her levels were off. She has all these diseases that she tells us about through the camera. She talks to you like you're here, like in her like she does all this, and she was like, I've got a Graves' disease, and that's why my eyes bulge. Like she has a reason for everything. She had a reason for why she passed out, and like she had tried the vegan thing and the way you're looking, Tiff, right now, that's exactly how we were all, that's exactly how we all looked when she was giving us these excuses. Like, huh,
Girl.
huh, that's what's going on. Oh. Okay. Now she has not been secretive about the fact that she had a struggle with drugs and she came from a place of addiction. And she's thrown that in there time after time, and that's fine. I think like it's good for us to know that you be honest with yourself and tell us what the hell is going on. But I think that
She's moving out
um,
the sober house in a couple days.
right. So she goes. Here's let's get into where things started not making sense. So shortly after she collapsed live on air, the Daily Mail, which is a publication out of the UK, which I often have issues with the way that they report things, um, and things like that. The Daily Mail released an expose, like an investigation that they had been doing on her husband for 1 year. So for a full year, the Daily Mail had been investigating her husband, and they found that her husband had a mistress that actually had a house in the same neighborhood that she lives in.
Messy.
So
Messy,
that was
messy.
one thing. Wendy never addressed the one. The only thing she said on air was, "Whenever you see me without this ring, that's when you should have questions. Me and mine's, we fine, we good." But there was undoubted, like undisputable evidence that this man, like her husband, had not only purchased this house for his mistress, that he was also receiving mail there. The damn mailbox had her name, her daughter's name, and his name in the mailbox. Like that was, yeah, that. So it went unaddressed. It wasn't addressed. Fine. She goes on hiatus. She was supposed to come back then this year, 2019 of our Lord. She was supposed to come back on January 14th, which happens to be my birthday this year. I'm sorry, she was supposed to come back on January 7th. She did not come back on the 7th. It was postponed for a week. For the 14th, she did not come back. On the 21st, they made an announcement that we don't know if she's coming back or when she's coming back. But in 2 weeks, we'll have some special programming for you. Long story short, this trick was gone from her show for 2 damn months, 2.5 months. You cannot leave a show for 2 months. You just can't do that. You can't. Like I have worked in live for now
Apparently
15
you
years.
can.
I mean, in her case, she proved us all wrong, right? She's back. But literally, and really, let's be honest. She's back because the name of the show is Wendy Williams. There is not
Correct.
anybody else that digs
And Nick
into the mess
Cannon is
like.
too busy to have another show.
I mean, people get into the mess. People are messy, but nobody gives you 20 minutes of straight mess like her. Like no one does it. You couldn't really like. Who else would you put? Let's sidebar before we jump into the relationships. Who else could you see doing what Wendy does?
Nick Cannon. He was the best guest host that did the show while she was gone. And he wasn't as messy as Wendy, but he was pretty close.
I hear
And did
you.
not mind being even messy about his own business.
I hear you, but do you literally think that Nick Cannon could do like
No,
I
he
like
cannot
Nick
replace Wendy.
Okay. That's kind of my point.
He's just
Like
good.
who could replace Wendy Williams? I don't really know like who could do that actually. Like who would I think Nick was good. I was into it. I got it. I'm into stuff like this. I'm into media. I get it. I get it. But who could replace her at this point? No one. So that's why she's still here. She comes back, still talking about these damn diseases that she has and all these other things. And I remember watching her first show back. I had to take my glasses off because I'm like, yo, I'm thinking about
Getting
the story,
serious.
getting into it. Like I was, she came back. She talked about the diseases, how she fell, she fractured her shoulder, and I'm watching like you are a damn lie. This you are not gone for 2.5 months because you fractured your damn shoulder. You weren't. Um, She's not even back a good week, and a bombshell drops that her husband's mistress is having a baby. She ignored that as well.
Did.
Now, this is when it's about to get good between us because I have questions here. We go another 2 weeks. She has the baby. The next thing you know, last Thursday, Wendy Williams files for divorce from Kevin Hunter. Great. See ya. It's over. Namaste. I was rejoicing. I'm happy. Like I don't ever rejoice in the demise of something wonderful or a union that, most believe God brought together. But in certain situations, and really logically, I really think that sometimes people get married out of obligation to family members, obligation to themselves, like something that they have in their mind that they are required to get married. That is not a life requirement. It ain't. It ain't. And no one deserves. And before I go into my logic on why it's not a life requirement. I know that you're on the other side of that because you really feel like I don't think you feel like people are required to get married, but
No.
I know that you genuinely believe that it's a good thing.
When done correctly, and when you have when you find a good partner to do life with, absolutely. I think the marriage and covenant and that connection can be amazing. When all of that is not in place, it could be a problem. It could be a major problem. So, yeah. Uh,
I mean,
yeah, it can cause some issues. But when done properly
what is
and you
done
find a good
correctly? Like
person,
that's where I struggle. Like what is done correctly? Like what is how do you determine
I
that a
think it
marriage
looks
is
different for
done?
everyone. It looks different for everyone because
So how can
I
it be a
also
thing?
am,
How can we define it as a thing if it looks different all the time?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know because what looks good to me may what looks good to someone I may look at from the outside and say, well, y'all are both actually trash human beings. So maybe you deserve each other, or maybe both of y'all need to be upgraded by somebody else who isn't trash. But those two trash people may say, "Oh, this is amazing. This is an amazing marriage," and blah blah blah, whatever, and don't even know how to spell covenant, let alone build one. But to
Hmm.
them, that makes a good marriage. So I think I have to, or you have to define what is good for you. Now, what is not good for anyone, in my opinion, is any type of abusive relationship, and that's emotional, spiritual, or physical.
Hmm.
um that's just not okay. So relationships like that I don't think are good in any definition. But outside of that, I think good is a varying definition. I know what's good for me. I know what I'm looking for in a marriage and a covenant,
Hmm.
but that may not be the next person's definition.
Hmm. I'm not convinced, right? And
I'm well,
it's
but
okay.
there's nothing I can say to convince you.
I don't have to be convinced. And I do think that aside from it being a covenant, it's also a contract. Like when you go to all the way to marriage, it's a contract. I think that what people neglect to realize that love is relative. Okay? Love is a
Hmm.
feeling. You can love someone, you can be in love with someone, but it is definitely relative to the situation in which you met them and the situation in which you are in right now. Like if things are good in your life, if things are popping in your life right now, then you can see yourself building something with someone and expanding on that love. But if you go through ups and downs, it doesn't mean you're not gonna feel love when you're going through these ups and downs. But to join yourself with something like when you are literally unstable, and maybe it's not you're unstable financially. Maybe you're just unstable in the head. Maybe you're crazy, or maybe you're attracted to crazy people. Not to put anybody like you. Oh, I'm notorious for doing this because it just never fails with me. I put people in my family out all the damn time. My uncle's been married like 6 times, bro. He's finally like agreed, like I'm not gonna get married again. Like, yeah, nephew, I'm cool, I'm good, I'm good. Yeah, you are good. And he's such a good dude that he gives them everything once it's over. And I'm like, yo, she was the problem. Like, I can say that now because I'm grown as hell. I think it was the second marriage. I was like the ring bearer. Now since then, like, come on, bro, come on now. Now on the flip side of that,
By the fourth or fifth marriage, I'm throwing the pillow with the ring on it. Take it.
I passionately believe that you never really know, for lack of a better word, who you who you're smashing. You don't know who you're messing with. You don't know. You really don't know. And even if you do know,
You know,
here's the truth.
they
And
change.
you know you you know what I'm
I
about
had
to
to yell
say.
it because I'm literally reading a book right now that says you don't know who your partner is going to be 10 years from now. And you shouldn't, because at 10 years from now, you both should have changed and grown exponentially in different ways and all of that. So getting married is not just, and I think this is a mistake that a lot of people make, especially not millennials, because apparently we do a marriage right, but we'll get to that in a minute. But you marry who that person is in the moment, not recognizing. A lot of people prepare for a wedding and not the marriage. Marriage is forever. So you're not just marrying that person and their baggage right now, you're marrying that person and whatever comes for the rest of your life. When family dies, when friends die, when parents move away or get old or elderly and got to move in, when you have children, when even if they do cheat. I know plenty of couples whose spouses or partners, not plenty, I know a few who have had cheating partners and spouses and get through it. Not everybody does, but I know some who have gotten through it. And dare I
I
say,
think, and
come
that's a
out with
choice.
even
Like
greater love on the other
I
side.
I think it's a choice, right? If you want to, if you have like, I feel like I personally have so much to do during the day. By the time I lay down with somebody at night, the last thing that I want to do is have to deal with the problem here. Like, that's the last thing that I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to, when I'm done with my day, like, I don't, you know me, my mantra, I will not argue with you. I don't believe it. I just do not have the time. It takes you to a very negative space in your head. And
Right.
I came from a period in my time where, because I'm naturally a contrarian and I don't agree with people naturally, I'm like, I used to argue for fun. Because usually, even I'm not even trying to win the argument. I'm just trying to. This is entertaining for me. Then people would get frustrated and then cuss me out. They'd be mad for months and like, cause you. And I'm like, I didn't even really care. I was just arguing with you just to make the point. But the thing
Right.
is, I'm definitely, especially, and a lot of it is rooted in what I do for a living, right? After I spend 4 hours talking about men, and especially when I was doing it entertainment only, and I spent 4 hours talking about everybody else's mess. I spent 4 hours talking about music. I spent 4 hours talking and arguing and hanging up on callers and arguing with the co-host and getting loud and all of that stuff. By the time, like for me to remain sane and not in a straitjacket, there's no way that I'm going to sign up to argue with somebody that always has a problem. So that's number one. Number two, I say this often. It really makes people think, and then like the number of people you've done shows with me, and you filled in on a lot of my shows. Like how I have repeat listeners that come back and be like, you said this, I was mad, but you right.
Right.
Here's the truth. Period. People, us, me, you, the person you get into a relationship, the person you fall in love with, the person you marry. All of us as humans, or in the words of Donald Trump, humans, we as humans have the right, we have the right to change our mind. You
Can we
literally
please go
have the
back to
right to
calling him
change your
45?
mind whenever you want to. So
Right.
you could literally, nothing could happen at all. You can literally And I'm not saying this happens often. I've heard of it happening, but it's okay. It's not illegal. You could literally be married to somebody for 25 years and wake up and decide, you know what? I just don't want to do this anymore. I still love you. I love our kids. I love this home. I just don't want to do this no more. You have that right to do that. Now, if you changed your mind and your partner didn't, she's gonna be pissed, okay? She is going to be pissed. He, she, whoever, they are going to be upset with you. But the truth remains, if they had woken up and changed their mind, they have every right to do that too. Now, when you change your mind, obviously you have some consequences. You have to deal with things. But I think that truth alone is frightening to me. Like when now, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't work for a long time now, so if it would, which it probably is never gonna happen. But if it did happen, I'm like prenup to the prenup to the prenup.
Okay.
I don't believe in any type of support. And Tiff, I told you, like, the thing is, Tiff, you're a horrible example because you could be best friends with my spouse, okay? If it's over, you ride it with me. So
Absolutely.
I'm not doing no support. You're not getting spousal support. You're not getting child support. You know why? Because the child is coming with me. Well, you can't take a child from his mom. Absolutely, I can because she's crazy. I'm gonna find some way to clinically prove that she's crazy. She came from a crazy mother, grandmother, and great grandmother. There's no reason the child should be subjected to the craziness of such person. And then, I mean, the court might get to the point. I'm gonna convince them so much that like she's lost her damn mind. They'll want her to pay me, but I don't need the money. I'm good. She just know that she's not getting a damn dime
She's
from
not
me.
sick.
That's, and you know what? Do you have any character witnesses to prove that? Yes, Tiffany. One, two. I got three siblings, a group of best friends that all ride or die.
What you need?
And it's that's it. But like you think if this is over, you are still going to benefit from this bank accounts? No,
Right.
not happening. But to that point, when we start to unpack this, because there we go rambling. But then here's the truth: we got to talk about my truth is important. It's important. Your truth is important. You don't
Hmm.
know these people. Wendy Williams was with this man for 21 years. There's speculation that he could have been cheating for up to 10. And every day she's sitting in front of us talking about her and her Kevins and what they're doing and all of that. And man, sir, ma'am, I mean, not Wendy's not a man. I didn't mean, ma'am, Wendy. Kevin is down the street at Sharina Hudson's house. Now, vengeance is mine, says the Lord, but also says Wendy Williams. Because what we do know is the way that she issued these divorce papers.
And pink slip.
She sent him a gift box. She sent him a gift box. It was wrapped. He thought he was getting a gift. The process server let him know at that time you have been served. Apparently, he went ape shit. But things were so interwoven, and so when we start to unpack this, it's the dream. Like we speak like, oh, you want your lover to be your best friend. You want your spouse to be your best friend. You start to go into business together. You build things together. You you seek to change the world together. So when it all comes tumbling down, then what?
But
And why is this like? Why do we put that out there for people to attain this fairy tale dream? Like, why do we do that?
society just puts that pressure on us that if you're going to be married, then sure, you may have some arguments, but at the end of the day, it'll be okay. I believe in therapy and all of that. And my therapist has said a couple of things to me about relationships over time. One is compatibility is earned, it is not just given. And two, um, you we
Say
are
that one more
taught to
time. Compatibility is earned. It's not just given.
correct.
I love that.
Society tends to make you think that when you meet someone it should just be an instant, oh, we're compatible, oh, this is great, oh, this feels right. And that's not how compatibility is supposed to work. Sure, you can believe in love at first sight, that can be a thing, but that doesn't necessarily make you compatible, and that doesn't mean that it's instant compatibility. You have to earn that. You have to get to know a person, you have to get to know their family, you have to get to know how to work things out and compromise and serve each other and all of that wonderful stuff. But the second thing is you don't all relationships are about compromise. And there's a couple of things. One, you said that, you want to marry your best friend and all of that. I don't always like my best friends. That's just the truth. You and I have gotten into arguments over the years. I've gotten into arguments with my other best friends over the years. We don't talk for a couple days, a couple weeks, whatever. And then we come back and it's like, whatever. You have to figure out how to do that with a partner too. But also, society tells us that you should, you know, one when you get married, one has to become lesser than in a relationship. And I disagree with that too. I just think that we let society teach us a lot of things about relationships that are not necessarily true and shouldn't necessarily be followed. We believe that, oh, this is the other thing I was going to say. When God gives you
You're not
something,
gonna
it's
be less
supposed
than, and I'm not gonna be less than, because we the best. I
right.
believe in that.
Um, that the other thing my therapist said was, we're taught in the church and outside that if God is in it, then it's great and dandy. It's going to be amazing. That ain't necessarily true either. Sometimes stuff God gives us is hard.
Shit.
It's
Correct.
just hard, okay? So you got to
And
deal
I
with
have a
that.
solution for that as well. Like I said, if it does happen for me, you gotta live next door. You cannot live here, okay? Because I can't. Like, of course, we can we can sleep in the same bed. We can have rooms in each other's homes. You know, 3 to 4 days a week. That's wonderful. I need my no. Mm-mm.
I'm not. We don't have to live in
You
separate
need to live.
entities or
I will
homes.
buy both houses. Well, I prefer a condo. You can live. Listen, I'll buy the floor. Okay, you live on that half. I live on this half. They're different addresses, though. That is your. You can. You need to be able to go home. Like you
No,
need.
I don't necessarily. I now I don't. I don't. I don't
Come
blame
on.
people who have that
If you
mentality.
really think about it, you're
I'm
okay.
not. I am not disagreeing that that's not a bad idea. But for me and my house, I don't need a separate home. You do have to have some business that I can tell you to go mind,
But
and
he
you
may.
must have
Like
a
you may
man
not need
cave.
it.
And you must have a man cave, and I must have a she shed. Because at the end of the day, I like my alone time. I'm always going to like my alone time, and I may need it to deal with your ass. And from what I see in marriages, I'm going to need it to deal with your
I mean,
ass.
I know you, so whoever he is, I will let him know that he probably needs his own house. Because
I mean, that's fine if he wants to have a retreat to go to every now and again.
it's
That's
necessary.
fine
See,
with me.
people don't want to shake things up. I'm more interested into why we continue to peddle ideas of relationships that don't work. Like if we can collectively start to agree on things, or just start to agree that the norm shouldn't be the norm because it does not always work.
And
That's
I agree
okay.
with that. I
It's
think
okay.
everyone has to find their norm instead of trying to follow society's norms, because society's norms most of the time are BS.
Hmm.
And most people don't live by that standard anyway. So you trying to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses ain't really doing that well. truth be told.
Or
But they're at
The Joneses never did well.
right. But because they're at your dinner party or the neighborhood cookout or whatever, and they look lovey dovey, what you don't know is before they got out the car, they was calling each other every name out the book and then making some up. And they've been doing that for a week straight.
Touche.
But because you saw them holding hands and thought that everything was a okay and perfect, y'all are just the model couple. I wish I had a love like yours. Be careful what you ask for because you don't know what that love looks like.
Touche.
For
So
real, for real.
how does this end? What does it look like? Like what in the end, how does this look not just for Wendy, but for people that set themselves up in relationships that don't necessarily work? You know, is it I think I would like to ask you a few questions. Before you and I think people really like I don't like I say a lot of bullshit out of my mouth. Most of it I believe, but sometimes it is bullshit. But I do truly believe that people believe so much that like I love this person, things I have seen, you know, I see what happens with everybody else. I see what could happen. It's never going to happen to me. I think that and I'm not saying this is Alex's rules for relationships. I'm not your relationship expert, don't want to be. But you should at least like get people involve yourself in like get an accountability. Like if you have like not just one of your best friends, get an accountability partner. Like okay, someone that can see the relationship, you in the relationship for what it really is. Like you need somebody to say, "Yo, tap tap tap, you on some bullshit right now. Like this ain't gonna work. It's not working now. It's not like what y'all are doing right now is dysfunctional. If you don't have anybody, and I'm not talking, it may not need to be your best friend because sometimes they are too close and you don't really hear them like you need to. It could be like a friend that you share information with because a problem, and I honestly think that the reason that our friends and our families can't help us avoid tragedies is because when you find one that you really like, you never say a negative thing about them to your friends and to your family. However, when there's one that you are kind of on the fence with, everything that they do, like, you know, and I've had friends, and we've talked about this before. I hate who you're dating because I only hear about the terrible things that they do. So I can't
Right,
usually even figure out how you ended up in this relationship. Cause every time you talk about them, you be like, yo, for lack of a better word, this is a fuck nigga. This is a fuck boy. Like everything that he does, this, you know, like he did this. He don't call me back. He don't answer when I call. He's always late. He never takes me out. So I be like, so what does he do? What does he do? Oh, he does a lot. You never talk about that. But then on the flip side, when we find the one that you want, then you're like, oh, he did this because it's like the one you're really into. So I hear all the good stuff. And this is what we do with our friends and our family, and they hear all of the good stuff, and they hear the good stuff, and they hear the good stuff, and they hear the good stuff. So now it's one or the other. I'm like, well, you know what? It doesn't seem like you could have all the same problems with this person, but you're overlooking them because you really like them.
right,
So A, you're not being honest with yourself. A, you're not being honest with your friends and your family. No one can help you unvoid. And so as we unpack this, I just feel like that these are the reasons why this stuff doesn't work. Because
right.
people lie. And I was trying to get to the root cause of this. People are liars.
People lie. People don't communicate. One of the
They're
comments from
liars.
one of our,
I'm convinced that's the reason.
that's a part of communicating, though. One of the comments from one of our interns when you said what makes a good relationship was communication and honesty. And I think that both of those things are things that are not common in some relationships, is because people don't like to be vulnerable. I actually call that the V word. I hate vulnerability, and most people do. Most people are like, you want me to risk actually opening myself up? I'm not doing that. No, thank you. Can we just skip to the marriage part without doing any of that? I'm actually good on that.
See, and I don't get that.
I I do, because I, again, I hate being vulnerable. But I think that's also the strong black woman complex that I have in me, that you have to be all you can be for all the people and all the things. But, that's a whole
I honestly
different
feel like
situation.
there we relate. Like not taking anything away from their needs, there being a strong black woman complex, but we society knows this. At least black people know this. Black men are taught like what you will be. This is who you will
Right,
be. This is what you
right.
will do. This is how you
Yep,
need to carry yourself. If
yep,
you don't, everybody's gonna think you a little bitch. And it's like that,
yep.
and you hear that. It may not even come like that. It doesn't come like that for everyone. Like I tell people all the time, like I never relate to people that like, oh, like my dad was in shit. I don't have that problem. Like my dad probably was involved with. Actually, no, not probably. My dad is
Was.
currently. If he could be here coaching me and telling me how and what to say, he would be doing that right now. But on the flip side, he was that person that would like, like you stand up straight, you do this, and your perception is everything. You cannot break. So there is no vulnerable, like there's not vulnerability usually for black men either. So that's a problem. I agree with that. That most people can't be vulnerable, but I do think that you find yourself like to me that's a red flag because I broke I don't I felt like that was something with the relationships I've been in, if I'm not, like, I feel like if I'm not being vulnerable, I'm not being honest. And sometimes I ain't happy. Sometimes I am pissed. Sometimes I don't like this. This is something that is gonna upset me, or this is something that's not like letting you into that point. This is something that will break me down. It's dangerous when you tell somebody that, but those are the things that you have to share if you're looking for success. I think
But
on the
not
flip,
everybody can consciously be aware of me not being vulnerable means I'm not being honest. A lot of the times when you're not being vulnerable, it's a defense mechanism and it comes automatically to the surface. You're not even, it's like your subconscious kicks in. You automatically have to protect yourself. That electric fence with the rabid pit bulls that's guarding your heart comes up. You turn it on, you flip the switch, and you don't even know it. It's a split second, and then if you are into being self-aware and all of that, and you tend to reflect on all of that later, then later you might say, you know what, I really probably should have been honest about how I was feeling or what was actually going on, or the fact that that actually triggered me, and here's why. But most of the time, when you have defense mechanisms, or if you've been hurt a lot in the past or whatever, and you have a tendency to not be vulnerable, it's not occurring automatically. Means you're not really being honest with yourself and with the person you're trying to be in platonic or romantic relationship with. It's just not an automatic conscious thought. And that's me speaking from experience. I have had moments where I've had to sit and really think about, you know what, you were wrong, not in the sense that you were rude or mean or disrespectful, but just in the sense that you didn't give that person an opportunity to get to know the real, honest, true you and how you were feeling, and give them an opportunity to respond one way or the other. You didn't even give them a chance. So, in that sense, I feel like I'm wrong for that.
I hear
But
you.
that's, me. I
I think. I
I
mean,
tend to sit and reflect and think and all of that.
I feel like that's huge. That you, that you can acknowledge that. Huge
But
with
that
the
takes
huge.
work. Most people aren't interested in doing the work, or my people perish for lack of knowledge, don't know they need to do it. So, um,
That's
I
that on
know
that.
we're short on time, but
No, I mean,
it goes
honestly,
in, it goes
I'm
in with Greg and
satisfied.
Nene Leakworth. What happened there? Did they get remarried for a reason? I would not dare say they got remarried for
Even
ratings.
mentioning them
I'm
just
not going to
made
go
my head
there.
hurt. It just made my head hurt. I think I'm actually good. I don't know. I think that we hit a lot here. We really did unpack this, and we kind of got to the root causes of
Yeah.
some of this. Um, and now it's really
I
up
just want to
to.
mention, sorry, I just want to mention that there are plenty of studies saying that millennials are doing something right about marriage and are staying married. And I think it's because we're waiting longer We're making sure that we're sure. We've seen what mistakes have been done in other relationships. Some have divorcee parents and they, saw what to do and not to do and all that. There could be a multitude of reasons, but there are multiple studies saying that millennials are changing it up and doing it right, and our divorce rate is going down.
I actually believe that, and I do think that a lot of them probably think like I do. Like it's not gonna happen until I'm completely ready, and you're, if it ends, we ending, okay? That's that on that.
And that's that on that. I agree with you, though. I think that we did unpack a lot. We relationships could be a whole. I mean, we could talk about that forever and talk about the root cause of a lot of problems in the black family structure, but that's a whole different show because that you and I have had that conversation. That's a different beast of a conversation. I do want to hit our honorable mentions before we end. Uh, First and foremost, since it's been a while since we have done this, we have got to pay our respects to Nipsey Hussle. I still cannot believe that he is gone. What a senseless crime, and a tragic loss that I think is being felt globally. I don't know if you saw even the former president of, I think it was Iran. Was it Iran? There was a former president of a country, I can't think of it right now, paying tribute to Nipsey Hussle. And of course, there's countless tributes here. His memorial service was at the Staples Center. His where the intersection where his store is being renamed. His um, volunteer community service, all of his contributions have been entered into the record in Congress and all of that. So prayers to Lauren London, prayers to his kids, prayers to his family, his mother, his grandmother, his father. Um, Still can't believe we lost him. Jesse Smollett is he's Jesse Smollett. He's somewhere in Hawaii smoking what one of the articles I saw today said he was smoking a cigarette that was not a cigarette. I'm willing to bet money. He's being sued by Chicago. I believe it's the Chicago Police Department. I can't even speak too much on him. I will say this: I need y'all to actually read the full timeline of what happened, what's going on, and all of that. Because him being let go and released does not mean that he was innocent, and that's all I'm gonna say on that. Because I literally can't.
I was actually gonna hold my tongue while you discussed him. I'll just say this: they released the district attorney for the city of Chicago, who also recused herself from the case. They released her text messages today because she has a cell phone that is government property. So they subpoenaed her text records, got the text messages, and by the look on your face, I'm gathering that you have not seen them. Her text message literally said, washed up asshole actor that got away with it. He's not worth the time or the energy. That's why we cut the deal.
Oh.
There's also a recorded conversation of his own that was leaked today that he said, I got away with it.
Now I did see that.
We all
Dumb.
knew anyway. Like, it didn't
Right.
make sense. I can't do it. I, I can't.
Questions on that news alerts.com. Insecure
Back
is
me.
not
I can't. Back you.
Insecure is not coming back until 2020. Now, Alex and I feel differently about this. I get it. Childish Gambino did the same thing when we had to making all the coins, doing Star Wars and all of his other projects. Issa Rae, of course, she was just most recently in the movie Little. Martin being the youngest executive producer in Hollywood. Kudos to her. So Issa out here making this money, doing all the things. I ain't mad at her. Make your money, get your check, boo boo. I'm a Miss Insecure. I'm gonna have enough stress trying to get through Game of Thrones, but Insecure would have helped with that. But it won't be back until 2020. Uh, Solange also is no longer until 2019 due to technical difficulties. Emily King has been added. Since that announcement was made, we don't know if it's related, whatever, but that segues into our last honorable mention. Uh, the Queen herself, King B, has released Homecoming. If you have not watched it, it is on
We've lost
Netflix.
you.
It's on
I was
Tidal.
going to say, it might not be meant for you to talk about this because your audio
The
completely
album,
dropped.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was about to say, what was the last thing you heard me say, Solange?
No, we heard you say Beyonce, and then that was it.
Oh, okay, so
They know.
Beyonce,
Y'all know. Y'all
y'all
know.
know, watch it. Watch The Queen. Watch Homecoming. It's on Netflix. It's on Tidal. The album was released. Go Stan. It's amazing. The production of the film is absolutely amazing. So go watch
I'll
it.
have to tell y'all, I probably will never watch it. I saw most of the clips
She lying.
already. I don't. I probably really won't.
It's
There's
more
a.
than just her Coachella performances.
I don't care. And but here's the thing, right? It's not that I don't care because I don't like her. I just really don't care.
Oh, I'm
Like,
aware.
I don't get into people's lives like that. And this is gonna be really embarrassing. I never ever told anybody this, and only the people that listen to this clip will know that I never even got through all of Lemonade
How dare you?
because I was over it.
How dare
And
you?
then that trap album, the only song I know is the one that we played. That was the single. I can't. I don't
Are
know.
you talking about the Carters?
Yeah, is that what it was called? I don't. The trap one. I did go through every track though. I did do that.
We're out of time. I'm not talking to you anymore.
I just did. Like, here's the thing, right? Like, we're out of time, but
We're out
that's
of
it.
time and you're
We're
still
back here,
talking and
and
I'm done.
I know it's actually really embarrassing. There's every once in a while, like
You should be embarrassed.
there's a black culture thing that I'm just completely embarrassed because I just didn't subscribe to it and I just didn't get into it.
I'm sorry.
And
We're going to have to fire one of our interns because she said Beyonce is not that great. Wow. We chose wrong with
now,
that one.
I do believe that Beyonce is the greatest performer that we have on the planet. Don't get me wrong there. However, it's and I black people are very jaded because we that's all you see, like you only see Beyonce. And I be trying to tell y'all the world doesn't really see it for her like that. Like they just really don't. If they did, her last solo number one single would not have been Single Ladies. She's had 4 albums since then. Where are the
All
number
of which have
ones?
been dope.
You know where the number ones are? With Robin, Rihanna, Fenty. That's who has the number ones.
Oh, who is potentially suing her father? That's another honorable mention, but
Yeah.
you can Google that.
We are here Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern. I mean, obviously, we'll have a whole week that we're putting into video testing before next week. But the podcast is also available everywhere a podcast is available. Find out more information about this show specifically at unpackingculture.com or just any Boss FM, anything, search Unpacking Culture. You'll find us. Tiff, how do they find you?
Tiff Lanelle everywhere. Lanelle. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I left Snapchat.
All right, great. I'm
Oh,
Alex
and .com.
Unmuted just about everywhere, including .com. And that's going to do it for us. Make sure you like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. More content is coming, and we also want to hear what you want to hear us unpack. We want you to be a part of this conversation, and the opportunity will always be open to you. So with that, we about to get up out this piece. Yeah, that's it. Holla at us.
Namaste.